There we go. Okay, so we're going to have the recording sent out to you as soon as we are finished here today. All right. Okay, so everybody can see the slides. All right, this is kind of new to me. I'm going to say I've been doing trauma training for a long time, but the slides or the online webinar is pretty new to me. So just bear with me here.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. All right.
Turn back time.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to get started. So everybody, welcome to the live Masterclass. Somebody could just have somebody there who needs their microphone. We have some background noise there. If you could just mute your microphone. Okay. So, the Life Beyond Trauma Masterclass is the #1 way to find freedom from anxiety, overwhelm, and persistent body aches. And I'm really glad that you're here, and I don't take it lightly that you've been committed, because I know we've all got commitments, but I don't take it lightly that you've committed your time to spending the next 60 to 90 minutes with me. I mentioned it is an interactive training, so we're going to be having a conversation together. So make sure you keep that chat box open. Okay, I'm going to dive right in. Gosh. You know, I've got all these screens open. I just want to make sure I've got everything straightened up for you. There we go. There we go. Okay. Okay. So if you've ever been to any of my previous in-person trainings, you will know that I've a few requirements because it is an interactive training. You have to participate, you have to interact, okay? The way that I train and mentor is very interactive. So please make sure you know how to use that chat. Please also make sure that the chat is set to everyone. So if yours just says panelist or host, just click that drop-down box and change it to everyone. And we're going to have a good time. So here we are. So if you're just jumping on, say hello in the chat. Make sure your chat is set to everyone and that you're using the chat, not the Q&A box. It's going to be recorded, so you will get the replay again, as I said, after the training, either today, maybe tomorrow, but hopefully shortly after this training today. And you're here because you want to overcome your trauma-related body aches, your anxiety, and your overwhelm. So it's super important that you block this time out with all distractions, right? Give yourself this time. Put your phone in another room if that's what you need to do. Close down tabs. It's really important that we just have this time together. Put a do not disturb sign on the door if that's what you need to do. Just do whatever it is that you need to make this time for yourself. So I'm going to be going through a lot of information in a short period of time. So let's jump right in. So my promise to you today is by the end of this training, I will show you how to stop spending all of your time on temporary solutions and to manage your body aches. Sorry, just bear with me. Sorry, guys. I've just got to get this. Bear with me one moment. Okay. So by the end of the training, I'm going to show you how to stop spending all of your time finding temporary solutions to manage your body aches, your anxiety, and your overwhelm. I'm going to show you how to stop listening to the faulty beliefs that are holding you back. We're going to discuss working with an expert to address the 5 elements that are necessary to overcome persistent body aches, anxiety, and overwhelm once and for all. And specifically, you're going to discover why that what you've been doing for years doesn't work. And instead, I'm going to walk you through what does. So imagine being able to skip over all the Googling, all the trial and error, and just do what works. I know when I learned the method that I'm going to share with you, it changed my life. And it's certainly changed my clients' lives. You know it's going to change your life too.
Lunch? No.
Does that sound good?
Lunch with a. I thought it was going to be like French or something. I thought you were going to be saying.
I'm sorry,
no,
Caroline,
that
I'm
was
unable
just
to hear anything. It's all the
Wait.
background noise.
Sorry.
All right. So Hillary, can we ask you to phone your
You can actually mute people yourself, Caroline.
okay, I'm going to go into here. Let me see how I can do that. Okay. Does anybody know? Can anybody direct me how to do that?
Gosh, it looks different when you're participants. You've got your own.
Yeah, just bear with me a second. Here.
Yes. So Deborah has just said, right-click the name. If you go into participants.
Okay, let's go to participants.
There are people that are unmuted, and if you hover over them, you get 3 little dots. And I think as the host, you get the opportunity to mute people.
Okay, let's see here.
If I remember right.
Is Hillary in the room now? Are you back with us, Hillary? Maybe she stepped out. I'm not seeing where I can do that, but I don't want to. I want to be mindful of your time as well. Let me just see. Oh, there it is, participants. Let's see if we can find Hillary.
It looks like Hillary's not in the room. And,
yeah, it looks like she's left.
Everybody is now.
Everybody is muted. Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Caroline.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's very different doing a training online than it is in person, that's for sure. So let me just come back to, let's see here. I just want to make sure you can all still see my presentation, right? The slides? Yes. Is that right? Okay. All right. So my promise to you, I've just gone through that. Okay, let's go into this. So I want to show you how to stop spending all of your time finding temporary solutions to manage your body aches, anxiety, and overwhelm, and show you how to stop listening to the faulty beliefs that are holding you back. And my promise as well is to show you how to work with an expert to address the 5 elements that are necessary to overcome persistent body aches, anxiety, and overwhelm once and for all. Does that sound good? So type yes in the chat if that sounds good for you. Okay. Are you tired of constantly trying to juggle too many things at once? Are you fed up of just worrying about things that you can't change, comparing yourself to others, or wishing that you had an easy life like the businesswoman who drops her children off at school each morning full of energy and who looks like she's got it all together? Are you trying to please everyone, saying yes to every request, or constantly multitasking without a break? Is that like anybody? Can anybody relate to any of that? Gosh, you guys, there's a lot of dishes. I'm telling you, it is something different doing it online, doing a training online. Okay, so everybody's saying yes. Come back over here. Are you unsure of how to get control of all the spinning plates that are in front of you so that you can overcome the anxiety and the overwhelm, be pain-free, more focused and motivated? Yes. Do you feel like you're falling apart inside and feel that you're defective in some way because you're struggling to cope with everyday life? So just so that you know, if you're nodding your if you're nodding your head, yes, in agreement to any of these points, I promise I'm not a stalker watching you. I've done all of these things. And I promise it is not your fault. It's really hard to know who's right and who to trust. And if you feel anything like I did back then, I would have done just about anything to get rid of my trauma-related body aches, anxiety, and overwhelm, except nothing seemed to work. Because what I'm about to share with you is the most effective way to wake up every day feeling well rested and ready to face the day ahead. No more relying on medication alone or drinking lots of caffeinated drinks to get the energy you need. Do the things that you have been putting off for so long because you don't have the time or the energy. Just stop surviving the day and stop sacrificing social time with your family and friends and your health. And you'll finally feel able to actively live your life rather than react to life with more focus, energy, time, and without all of the anxiety, overwhelm, and body aches. So tell me in the comments, which scenario is the one that you really want? Which one would describe why you showed up today? Anybody like to share? Why did people show up today? Fibromyalgia, Marie, yeah. Yeah. Anybody else just feeling stuck? Wanting to get help? Yeah. To get my health back. Grief. Grief. ME, fibromyalgia. Get out of bed. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to just get out of bed. Friend, to be motivated to do things, and that's the thing. Like, so with trauma, even like putting things off or procrastination is actually an anxiety response. It's not that people often mistake that. It's like, oh, she just puts things off. It's not. It's an anxiety response, and so very understandable. Shame. Oh, yeah. Okay. Bereavement. Start getting my life back, and I don't stop day to day. Yeah. Bereavement can definitely do that. That's for sure. Right. PTSD. Gosh. Lots of things going on. Okay. So let me move into the next slide here. A little bit about me. So before we go any further, I should actually probably formally introduce myself. So I'm Caroline Reed. I am a psychotherapist specializing in trauma. I support women over 40 who are trauma survivors and who struggle with anxiety, overwhelm, and persistent body aches so that they can find new meaning in their life and reclaim their energy without having to face triggers or revisiting the traumatic events or memories that could be distressing. I've worked in the trauma field most of my adult working life. My first 15 years was spent in the nonprofit field, working as the director of a women's residential program for homeless women. So all of those women struggled with a lot of trauma. And then I worked as the chief operating officer of a residential drug and alcohol treatment center for women and their children. And I found that work really rewarding because it wasn't only working with the mom who was struggling with the addiction, but it was also ending that generational cycle of trauma or of addictions. So the children got to learn. We're very much part of that treatment process. From there, I've worked in private practice, both in the United States and here in the UK. I've trained bachelor's and master's level students during their internships through my own work for numerous years. A fun fact about me, actually, I'll share with you. On my wedding day, I had 20 homeless bridesmaids in addition to my own bridesmaids to celebrate my big day. Yep, they were all trauma survivors. I was working with them all, but I couldn't resist sharing my fairy tale day with some of the most amazing and courageous women that I knew. So it's really an amazing story. So I'll have to share that with you sometime. So I have a master's degree in clinical social work, and I have postmaster's qualifications in EMDR therapy, which is a form of treatment that is very effective for trauma survivors. And then I stay very involved in the field of trauma. taken many courses, received numerous certifications over the years, and then I stay abreast of the most recent research and theories relating to trauma. I was telling you I'm going to Oxford again. Well, it's not, I think it's in September actually, but I go to Oxford and learn from some of our leading experts in the trauma field. And so I've learned from Bessel van der Kolk, Stephen Porges, Janina Fisher, Peter Levine, Gabor Mate, the Gottmans. You may or may not know who they are, but they are some of the world's leading experts in the field of trauma. And I'm very lucky to have been able to have training from them. So in addition to that, I am a mom to an 11-year-old special needs son who has a heart of gold. And I'm a mom to a beautiful daughter who's very independent and driven. She's 10, going on 16. I'm a wife to a husband who didn't hesitate when I told him that I wanted to invite 20 homeless women to be my bridesmaids at our wedding. I'm a trauma survivor who has overcome the persistent body aches, the anxiety and overwhelm. I found a way to live life beyond trauma, having more energy and time for myself and my family. I'm the creator and founder of the Life Beyond Trauma method, and I created this program because I want to reach as many women as possible who struggle the way I did. I was driven by a desire to spare others the anguish that I endured, to offer hope when things became just too much. I wish someone showed me this method years ago, but it's been my calling. It has been my calling in life to create this path so that others can heal without spending any more time trying to figure it all out. This is the hard slide to share. But that was me. Up until 5 years ago, I was struggling with trauma-related body aches, anxiety, and overwhelm. I'd fill up all of my time with things that had to get done. I spent the last 20 years in the United States focusing on my career, and I didn't prioritize trips to the UK to see my family. Now, don't get me wrong. I know, like, I'm very close to my family and I missed them terribly, but I just assumed family was forever. We had gone through so much together in our younger years. Nothing could really keep us apart. The bond that we had was indestructible. They were just always going to be there. So talk about childhood. Despite enduring the adverse childhood experiences that resulted in multiple and ongoing traumatic experiences, I didn't think that my past affected my life in a negative way. Not until it stopped me in my tracks. Now, I was working 12-hour days, 6 days a week, and I was trying to be the best mom and wife to my very busy family. Stress, anxiety, overwhelm, persistent body aches were controlling my everyday life. I'd have zero energy, and I mean zero energy left at the end of the day for my family because I worked myself into the ground, and I had spent the whole day performing or wearing a mask, as many would say, so that nobody would really know what was going inside of my body and inside of my mind. I was drowning. I just kept telling myself that things would get easier when I was finished with this project, or when the kids got older, or when the house was tidy, right? I would have all these plans in my head of things that I would do with my family when I find the time and energy, but nothing ever came to fruition because I was just too busy. I was self-soothing by comfort, binge eating, whatever you want to call it. And I was coping with my traumatic past by just staying busy and not taking care of myself. After all, life was hectic. There was no time for me, and I knew I'd be okay. I was strong. I could survive anything, right? I dedicated my life to helping others rather than helping myself. Now, I'll never forget December 2019, and I know a lot of you know this story already, but while I was wrapping things up at work, of course, I was working late. It was about 7 o'clock at night. I got a phone call that changed my life forever. My beautiful, beautiful sister had died. She was 50 years old. I was on the other side of the world from my parents and siblings, and I'd never felt so helpless and powerless in my whole life. I hadn't seen my sister for 2 years because, well, I was too busy, but she died. I broke. That's the best way that I can describe it. I just broke. Now, losing a loved one is devastating in and of itself for anybody. But it was this event that made my mask fall off, right? I couldn't hide anymore. I couldn't perform anymore. Everybody got to see the real me, and that was hard. Everything that I was feeling inside and working so hard to suppress, it just came flooding out. I adored the ground that my sister walked on. She always had my back. She took care of me when we were young. She was my big sister. She was beautiful, confident, strong, and I was safe. She made so many sacrifices for me during our childhood. I'll talk more about those another time, but even though I lived so far away from her, during our adult life, I always knew that she was there, but now she was gone. I was so scared. No, I was petrified. I was absolutely petrified. My big sister wasn't in this world anymore. And it was during this time that I realized that I'd been staying busy. I'd been there for everybody else, ignoring my anxiety, ignoring my overwhelm, ignoring my persistent body aches, not making time for my self care, and pretending that life was all good, but feeling miserable inside. Wondering how other women seemed to have it all together, wondering why my life couldn't be like that, wondering why I was failing, but keeping up all the appearances that all was good. So let me ask you, have you been doing that? Tell me in the comments if you're struggling with something similar or the same thing. I'm sure I'm not the only one who was doing more harm than good, even though I thought I was doing all of the right things. Has anybody here been doing those? Masking? Fran, the exact same. Yes, it is, Noreen. It is exhausting. Family. Broken stage. Yeah. The broken stage. Deborah. Yeah, that's hard. It's hard to be there. And it is really hard to pretend that you're okay when you're absolutely not. iPhone user there says, I feel there's no hope. It got like that for me. It felt like it was just too much. Yeah. Jump back to my slides here. Okay. I'll be very happy to get off that slide. Don't like that slide at all. Okay, so it was during this time that I realized I had to get better. I couldn't carry on ignoring the fact that I was avoiding my symptoms. I certainly couldn't go back to performing. Life had to change and I had to heal. And in order to do that, I had to get to the negative core belief that I held about who I was as a woman. And I had to look at how I was living my life, my relationships, my parenting style, my marriage. I had to look at everything, right? My work ethic, my self care. So it wasn't just one or two areas of my life. I needed to look at the whole picture and I needed to heal in order to grow into the woman that I was meant to be rather than the woman that I had to be. I decided I wasn't going to figure out how to overcome. Well, I did figure. I said I was going to figure out how to overcome my body aches, my anxiety, my overwhelm. I was going to figure out how to be able to get through the day and still have energy for my family and myself. I had the lived experience. I had 25 years of training as a therapist, as a trauma therapist at that. I'd been in therapy rooms, I'd taken medication, I'd tried numerous different treatment approaches, but nothing worked long term. A lot of things worked short term, but nothing long term. And I needed to find a life-changing solution that was permanent, that was not a quick fix, but a purposeful plan that was going to give me and my family the life that we could enjoy again. I didn't care how long it would take me or what I had to do. I was going to figure it out. I read a quote once that was from, it's a quote that stuck with me, and I'm not quite sure who I need to give credit for this. But it says, if there's not a path, create one. So that's exactly what I did. I created a path where there wasn't one, and that's how the Life Beyond Trauma method was born. And that's when I started the journey that got me to where I am today, right here with you, sharing my methodology so that you can skip over the years of trial and error and the struggle that I went through, and just that you can overcome your trauma and get on with the life that you were meant to live. So, even though I am now able to live my life without that anxiety and without that overwhelm and persistent body aches, and even though I now have time for myself and my family without having to go through all of the talk therapy over and over again, or relive the trauma over and over again, it took a year of dedicated hard work to figure it all out. And I still make mistakes. I'm going to be the first to admit it. I still make mistakes. We're human, right? And it's life. It's life. I had to test out different formulas. I had to see which ones worked for me and for my family. I really struggled. And I was frustrated because I wanted someone to tell me what to do without having to spend so much time and energy trying to figure it out. I was frustrated because while there are lots of modalities out there that treat trauma, I wanted one model that addressed it all. I wanted everything under one umbrella, and it had to be permanent. It couldn't be another quick fix or temporary relief. I needed something that was going to change my life once and for all. I'm a trauma survivor, so you can only imagine then the negative self-talk that I have while I'm trying to create this Life Beyond Trauma method. But I found a solution for that too. It took a lot of time, patience, and there was no way that I could have arrived at the Life Beyond Trauma method without having the lived experience and having invested in my professional education and becoming an expert in the field of trauma. But I was fully committed to figuring it out. I wasn't going to go back to my old ways. What I discovered through all of the trial and error was that it wasn't that I wasn't good enough or disciplined enough, or that I was a failure because of the constant anxiety and overwhelm. It wasn't normal for me to constantly try and be everything for everyone else and not be a participant in my own life. It wasn't normal for me to ignore my body aches, and it wasn't normal for me, and my body was screaming in pain. And it wasn't normal for me to pretend that everything was good when it wasn't. Now, I discovered that none of those things were normal or helpful. And I figured out that I, in fact, was having what it was is that it's a neurophysical response to my trauma. So most of you will know this as the fight or flight response. And once I started to address the neurophysical response that I was living with every day, things changed for me. And I want to share how I did that with you all so that you can skip over the trial and error and just get on with your healing. Now, there is a simpler way to heal from your trauma without having to depend on maladaptive coping mechanisms or having to retell your story over and over again. My whole life has changed because I decided to create a path that didn't exist for myself, for my family, and for you. So type yes in the comments if you want a simpler way of doing things. Yes, please. Is fibromyalgia, sorry, I just saw a comment there. Is fibromyalgia considered body aches? I would say it is. Yes, very much so. Yes. Brilliant. Okay, so I want to tell you just quickly before I jump into these core concepts, this next slide, I just want to tell you about Sarah. Now, I want to tell you about her because she reminds me a lot of myself and how my life used to be. Now, she is a self-employed events manager. She works a lot of hours every day. She loves her kids and her husband dearly, but felt uncomfortable and unproductive while just sitting at home. She felt most energized and, in her words, more alive while working long hours under a lot of pressure and a lot of stress. Now, some of her best work was done under extreme pressure while putting out fires. Now, she missed her family when she had to work long hours, but when she came home at the end of her workday, she would have to start what she called her second job, which was to make dinner for the family, help the kids with their homework, do the laundry, clean up after dinner, make sure the kids got into the bath and then ready for bed at a decent hour. She had to do this even if she worked late. When her kids wanted cuddles or for her to read them a bedtime story, she felt irritated, right? She had no energy whatsoever. By the end of the day, she felt as though her life had been sucked right out of her. She was frustrated with her husband. His workday ended as soon as he walked in the front door. He would sit down on the couch, eat his dinner, watch TV until it was time to go to bed. Sarah was the go-to person for everyone in the house because Dad was tired after a long day doing physical work. He was a builder. She also worked on Saturdays, so Sundays was really her only day that she could catch up with the housework, get school uniforms ironed for the week. She'd make sure that her house was straightened as much as she could. A messy house was a real trigger for her. I know that was for me too, but a messy house, anxiety trigger for her. She was struggling to stay on top of her home. She didn't have the time to teach the children how to pick up after themselves, right? So she was just easier and quicker if she just did it herself. So people just let her do it. Now, while she, along with her husband, were providing a good income for the family and her children had everything that they needed materially, the guilt that she felt for not spending time with them was huge. The children were growing up right in front of her eyes. She was missing out, right? She wanted to do things with the family on Sundays and would make plans, but when the time came, she just told them that she had too much to do or a headache. The headaches always came on a Sunday, right? So they'd have to go out another time. So she was disappointing her children. She struggled with a lot of physical aches and pains. Life became unbearable. But after she went through that life beyond trauma method, everybody in the family felt better. She understood that her need to work such long hours was to ensure that the kids never had to come home from school to find all of the family's belongings on the street because they'd been evicted. She felt most alive when working under pressure and under stress because her childhood was filled with pressured and stressful experiences. So this was routine for her, right? It's how she survived. Sorry. So when she put out fires, she felt accomplished. It was also made her feel appreciated. It made her feel needed. It fed her self-esteem and it sugar-coated the negative core belief that she had about herself, that she wasn't good enough and she wasn't important. She couldn't relax at home because not being productive meant she didn't matter. She always needed to prove herself worthy to others. And doing things herself rather than teaching her children to be independent or being happy with the efforts that her husband did make were ways that Sarah could have some form of control over her life. So once she addressed these maladaptive coping strategies and negative core beliefs through the Life Beyond Trauma method, she's able to follow and make the changes that she needed in order to enjoy life with her family without the anxiety, without the overwhelm, and without the persistent body aches. And her husband wasn't lazy. It was just he wasn't doing it the way she wanted him to do it. So she wanted him to do it. So it was hard. Now imagine you overcoming your trauma-related body aches, your anxiety, your overwhelm, feeling that achieving this will ignite a new sense of hope and resilience within yourself as you start to actually live your life again, being more focused, more motivated, and getting through the day and still have energy and time for yourself and your family. So type me if this is what you'd love to achieve without having to tell your story over and over again, or without having to spend any more of your life trying to fix body aches, anxiety, and feelings of being overwhelmed all of the time. Does this sound like you? Yes. Awesome. Okay, so let me jump into this core concepts. So the real reason why everything that you've tried hasn't worked. So let me just jump into here. Let me know in the chat if you've ever tried any of the following. So Who's taken prescription drugs, and you don't have to say, if you feel called to say, taken prescription drugs to help reduce your anxiety or your pain? Trying to meditate by using the Calm app or Headspace app to reduce your stress because meditation is supposed to help? Who's tried complementary therapies such as acupuncture, massage therapy, or aromatherapy to alleviate your symptoms? Or who's been like me, overworking, filling your schedule with work or tasks in an attempt to distract from or numb the feelings of overwhelm? Who here has been avoiding situations, people, or places that trigger anxiety or overwhelm instead of confronting and processing the underlying emotions? Or who here has been attempting to push through or ignore physical discomfort and emotional distress? All of the above. Wow. Okay. Amazing. Yeah. So let's dive into these actions to help you understand why they haven't helped you overcome your trauma-related. Yeah, avoiding is a big one, for sure. You see, aromatherapy, massage therapy, acupuncture, all of those are wonderful therapies in themselves, but there's a reason at the beginning why they don't work. And I'll explain it to you. So taking prescription drugs to help reduce your anxiety or your pain. So I do want to acknowledge that medications can help with symptoms and daily functioning, but they can also mask the symptoms without addressing the root cause. Pain medication, whether prescribed or over-the-counter medications like Tylenol, ibuprofen, paracetamol, they all provide that short-term relief, but they're just numbing the pain. Antidepressants or anti-anxiety medications do the same. They suppress or numb the emotions, which can impede the processing and resolution of trauma. They're not getting underneath that pain to see what's really going on. Now, again, I'm not saying medication doesn't work, because it absolutely does, and there is a need for that. It has a place. But medication alone cannot be the sole or the primary approach to healing. Trying to medicate using the Calm app or Headspace app, who uses those? I've tried them all. Survivors often experience hyperarousal. Because everything's going to, yeah. So survivors often experience hyperarousal, which is that constant edgy feeling, right? That anxiety, or dissociation, which is being totally disconnected from your body or your surroundings. And because of this, they feel losing control over their thoughts, emotions, body sensations. So during meditations, right, it's almost like a trust process. You have to trust. If your body's not safe, you can't engage in a meditation. And I think it's even harder for women who have to do meditation, especially if they've had a loss of control during that traumatic experience itself. So meditation encourages awareness of your thoughts, of your emotions, your physical sensations. And this heightened awareness makes it challenging to stay present and focus because of intrusive thoughts, flashbacks, overwhelming emotions. So trying complementary therapies such as acupuncture, massage therapy, or aromatherapy, right? So trauma survivors often experience a heightened state of arousal, hypervigilance as a result of their past experience. So complementary therapies involve intentionally relaxing and calming the mind and body, which can be difficult for women who are constantly on high alert. There's also the potential issue of personal space and touch, right? So trauma survivors often struggle to feel safe and secure, both internally and externally, and this hinders the ability to relax. So creating a safe environment is essential prior to any complementary therapy or meditation. Overworking, right? It doesn't work because overworking leads to physical and mental exhaustion, increases the risk of burnout, anxiety, depression, and other health issues. And ignoring trauma results in the accumulation of stress and unresolved emotional pain. And it makes survivors more susceptible to engaging in maladaptive coping strategies such as overeating, overdrinking, using drugs, getting into dysfunctional relationships with others, to name a few, right? These behaviors only exacerbate the negative consequences of trauma and then lead to additional challenges. The avoiding situations, people, places, or things that trigger anxiety and overwhelm, right? They don't work in the long run because ultimately it reinforces fear, it limits growth, and it perpetuates trauma-related symptoms and negative beliefs about yourself and the world. Avoidance can increase sensitivity to triggers over time. You become more sensitized to potential threats and less tolerant of uncertainty and discomfort. So a lot of people have that control element there. It reinforces trauma-related symptoms like hypervigilance, dissociation. I know you said that was somebody in the comments there said dissociation was huge for them. It makes it difficult for you to function and recover, right? And so limits your opportunities for healing, right? So it prevents you from accessing resources and supports that could facilitate healing. It reinforces negative beliefs about yourself, others, and the world. It leads to social withdrawal and isolation. And it diminishes the quality of life and overall well-being by limiting your ability to engage in meaningful activities, to pursue your interests, and to experience joy and fulfillment. So avoidance can become this self-perpetuating cycle where you increasingly rely on avoidance as a coping mechanism, leading to further withdrawal and disengagement for life. And then ignoring your symptoms, well, we all know that ignoring body aches related to trauma increases pain over time, right? So if you're ignoring those body aches, they're not going to just go away. Unaddressed physical discomfort intensifies and can become chronic, right? Involves muscle tension and tightness. So ignoring these symptoms, again, leads to stiffness, decreased flexibility, further discomfort, limited mobility, range of motion, right? All of these. And so chronic pain and discomfort contribute as well to the emotional distress. So feelings of frustration, irritability, anxiety, depression.
Bill, come on.
So chronic pain, right? So we've got emotional distress, include feelings of frustration, irritability, and anxiety. And then we have, it's just like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? So with you have social withdrawal, isolation. You struggle to cope with your symptoms. You find it difficult to be social with others. You feel lonely. There's a disconnection from others. So trauma-related body aches impair your concentration, your focus, productivity. Then you have a compromised overall health, right? So ignoring your trauma-related body aches can have long-term implications for overall health and well-being. So untreated pain can contribute to the development of or the exacerbation of various health conditions, including cardiovascular disease,
Mom,
stroke,
in here.
gastrointestinal disorders, immune dysfunction, and often is related to things like fibromyalgia, headaches, TMJ, where people grind their teeth, right? These are all ways that our body, lupus, there you go, Deborah. Yes, absolutely. So let me go to my next. Okay, absolutely. So many health issues that come. Yes, Stephanie, I think it was Anne, if you can just mute your phone again.
Oh, sorry.
You're fine. Actually, I think I know how to do it now. I can see it there where I can mute. Okay, we learn as we go. All right. So I want to show you, excuse me, the real reason why all of these actions that you've been trying haven't helped. The reason is because you haven't addressed the neurophysical symptoms of trauma in the first place. So many people have heard this as the fight-flight response, right? So when someone experiences trauma, they're often guarded and afraid that it will happen again. So what happens is the brain and the nervous system become hypersensitive and stress hormones flood the body for protection. So addressing the neurophysical symptoms of trauma first lays that groundwork for effective healing. Why? The body needs to feel safe in order for you to access cognitive functions that are responsible for problem solving and reasoning, right? So when you're in fight-flight response, your frontal lobes go offline. And so you can't, so you're in survival mode, right? And so the body has to feel safe. It has to feel safe to come online to be able to think responsible to think, to access cognitive functions and problem solve. So developed by Dan Siegel, Dr. Dan Siegel, the window of tolerance, this is the slide here, it gives us an awesome concept for understanding how our nervous system responds to various stimuli. So it can be thought of as a range within which we can effectively cope with stresses and maintain emotional regulation. So within the window of tolerance, our automatic nervous system is in a state of relative balance, right? So it allows us to engage with the world around us in a calm and adaptive manner. We're able to think clearly. We're able to form meaningful connections with others. We're able to navigate life's challenges with resilience. So physically, our heart rate slows down. It allows us to sit or stand still. The saliva and digestive systems are stimulated to help process food. Facial muscles are activated so that we can better convey emotional nuances through our face. We have increased vocal prosody. So it's a more sing-songy way of speaking versus a monotone way of speaking. And our eye contact, we have good eye contact. So we feel safe in this window of tolerance. Our bodies are able to heal, we're able to recuperate. The brain has the ability to learn and think, and the body has the ability to physically heal, right? Our past experiences and current environmental stresses all play a role in shaping the size and flexibility of our window of tolerance. So, for example, someone who has experienced trauma or adverse childhood experiences may have a narrower window of tolerance than others, making them more susceptible to dysregulation in the face of stress. And so those who've developed strong coping skills and social support networks may have a wider window of tolerance, enables them to bounce back more quickly from adversity. So when we exceed the boundaries of our window of tolerance, our nervous system then shifts into states of hyperarousal or hypoarousal. So hyperarousal is when we kind of become more elevated. And what happens here is when the nervous system perceives a threat, whether it's physical or psychological, the sympathetic nervous system kicks into high gear and activates our fight-flight response. So this triggers a cascade of physiological responses, including increased heart rate, rapid breathing, heightened alertness. Your middle ear muscles become disengaged, making it easier to hear extremely low frequency sounds associated with danger and predators. Our pain tolerance goes up, making it easier to stand our ground against an adversary. It's pretty interesting how our body responds that way. We do have a heightened level of anxiety or fear, panic, irritability, anger. We have a heightened startled response, and it prepares the body to either confront the danger or to run away from it. So this heightened state of arousal can impair our ability to think rationally and make sound decisions, because again, your frontal lobes do go offline during this time. And your primary focus here is on survival. So it's kind of like if you're facing the saber-toothed tiger, you're not worried about what you're going to have for dinner tonight. You're worried about surviving, right? So you only focus on what is in front of you. And then in hypoarousal, so again, when the nervous system perceives a threat, the freeze-fawn response is activated. Now, this is mediated by the parasympathetic nervous system, and it slows down body function and it numbs your sensations, right? So this withdrawal response is characterized by feeling emotionally numb, disconnected, dissociated, fatigued, emotionally flat. You might also have difficulty here just engaging with other people. You just want to be on your own. So during this state, some of us try to get back to safety with an attempt to support and even soothe the perpetrator. That means to harm us, right? And so when we're in immediate danger, we see compliance here. If we just do what I'm told, I'll survive. We also see appeasement here, which is the survivor attempting to convince the perpetrator that they're on their side, right? These behaviors are a part of our body's mission to keep us alive. We see fawning surrounded by a pervasive and nonstop threat, such as those living in an abusive environment, right? So over time, repeated activation of these stress responses actually reshape the brain, particularly areas like the amygdala, which is involved in processing emotions, and the hippocampus, which is responsible for memory formation. Now, these changes can perpetuate a cycle of heightened reactivity to perceived threats, making it challenging for trauma survivors to feel safe and secure in their environments. So, being outside that optimal zone of arousal, the window of tolerance, right? Healing can't happen. So, now that you understand the root cause and why the actions you've been trying to overcome your trauma-related body anxiety and overwhelm haven't worked, let's dive into the misconceptions or beliefs that are keeping you stuck. Okay, so let's jump into this. So the misconceptions that are holding you back. So let me know in the chat if you've ever believed or said any of the following. This pain is forever. This is how it's going to be for the rest of my life. It's my new normal. Anybody said that? Oh, graph larger. So I'm going to send the webinar to you guys electronically. So hopefully you'll be able to open it up and see it bigger there. If not, let me know and I can send it to you. So the first one was, this pain is forever. This is how it's going to be for the rest of my life. It's my new normal, right? A lot of people also around in their 40s would say, well, I'm getting older, you know, or it's perimenopause, or, you know, this is new pains. It is the new normal. Well, I get it because I've been there too. I remember what that was like. So it makes sense to me that you feel as though nothing is going to work because you've probably been trying to fix your body for a long time. The truth is, though, I'm a core example. It is possible to overcome your symptoms. I've overcome them myself, and so have many of my clients. What about this one? I can't change what happened to me. Well, it's a truth, right? We can't. It is true. We can't change our history. We absolutely cannot change history. It would be great if we could. But we can't change our history. We can't change what's happened to us. But we can change how what happened affects us moving forward. Does that make sense? We can't change what happened to us, but we can change how it affects us moving forward. Yeah. All right. What about this one? Talking about it will make it worse or bring back some really strong feelings. Who's there? Yeah. Now, what's interesting here, and I think we believe it's Gabor Mate that we had to thank for this, but trauma is not the event itself, right? It's not about what happened. It's about what happened within us as a result of the traumatic experience. So it's not the trauma event. It's what happened to us as a result of the trauma. So we don't need to be talking about the event. We need to talk about what happened to us as a result of that traumatic event. And that is so key here. So working with and healing the wound that is within us, that is the key to making lasting change. It eats you up. Yes, sure does. Yeah. And so it's not the content, right? We have to move away from the event. And yes, if it's ongoing, absolutely. Yeah. And look at what's happened to us as a result of that. I can't trust anyone. I'm alone in this. Who's there? Yeah. This one was definitely me. Yeah. Trauma does a great job of creating feelings of isolation and alienation. The fact of the matter is, you're not alone, right? You're in the company of women, just like yourself, share your fears. They share the same negative beliefs about themselves as you do. They're in a safe, non-judgmental, and supportive environment where they feel comfortable and connected to their fellow survivors. They feel validated in their experiences, right? What about this one? Letting others know that I am struggling is a sign of weakness. I don't want pity. This one was huge for me. Yeah. You see, I used to believe that if I acknowledged my struggles, I was a failure. I was weak. And yeah, it sure is. Big self-blame. I got myself into this, Mary. Yeah. That's the mask, Linda. Absolutely. Yes. See, I said if I acknowledged my struggles, I was a failure. I was weak. So I would show the world that I was independent, I was strong, self-reliant. And all of these things then fed my own anxiety, right? My overwhelm, my persistent body aches. It's not sustainable. So sharing the struggles and receiving support is a courageous and empowering act that will facilitate connection, support, and healing. There is a life beyond trauma. So I see a lot of comments here, but does this resonate with any of you? And to emotionally being triggered by people is a big thing for me, as it sends me back to the, it makes me want to stay away from people. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's kind of like once bitten, twice shy, right? And so emotionally unavailable parents. Yeah, so having emotionally unavailable parents can definitely trigger that. Let me just see here. Same for me. Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're now going to, yeah, I figured that, yes. We're now going to jump into, let me see where I am here. Full concept 3. Okay. So during my journey, I discovered that in order to heal from my trauma-related body aches, anxiety, and overwhelm, I needed to first understand that this was actually what it was. They were trauma-related symptoms. Didn't put 2 and 2 together, right? I'm getting older, perimenopause, that's why I've got body aches. No, trauma-related body aches. I adapted as well to the symptoms that my trauma was showing me. I was working some crazy long hours to make sure that I always had enough money coming into the household so that my kids always had a roof over their heads. Yeah, I did. I grew up in poverty. We had lost a lot of homes growing up. But I always showed up with a big smile on my face and appeared happy and energetic, everything that I really wasn't feeling. So here's what I discovered what works. You have to first address the neurophysical symptoms. We know that the body remains on high alert even after a traumatic event has passed. And this high alert, known as hypervigilance, leads you to scanning the environment for potential dangers constantly. In order for healing to occur, you need to address the neurophysical symptoms first to help the body feel safe. Then you need a proven method, like a step-by-step plan in place that heals the neurophysical symptoms so that you can stop doing all of the things that don't work and just focus on the elements that do. I discovered that in order to overcome the persistent body aches, the anxiety and overwhelm that I was experiencing for good, I needed these 5 things, right? I needed 1, to address the neurophysical symptoms. I needed that step-by-step plan that taught me what to do and why. I needed to address my own physical, my own patterns of nervous system activation that kept my trauma present, very different for everybody. So it's understanding your own patterns of nervous system activation, understanding my own negative beliefs that became part of the core beliefs about myself, others, and the world around me. And I needed to develop the resilience that I needed to change. I needed to change the things that were not working in my life. I needed a professional that I could ask questions to and get support from. Now, as a psychotherapist, even though I had all the book knowledge, healing has to be an experiential process. And that is it. You can't read your way out or study your way out of trauma. So it has to be an experiential process, not just something that you can learn or read about. And then the element 5 is to have accountability and a sense of community around me. So my mission and why I created the Life Beyond Trauma method, I did make it my mission to help others because I know how challenging living with trauma-related body aches, anxiety, and overwhelm is. I know that you don't have the time. You don't have the time. You don't have the time. You don't have the energy to figure it all out. You're surviving right now, getting through each day. I have the education. I have the lived experience. And I've worked with trauma survivors for over 25 years. And I stay very connected to some of the leading experts in the world who work with trauma. I know that this program changes lives. And it will change your life. And I know that you will have to make temporary sacrifices to create a better life for yourself and for your family, but it will be worth it because it does work. I want to reach as many women globally as I possibly can because trauma affects us all, and it affects us all in different ways. The Life Beyond Trauma method is new, and it's a cutting-edge program that heals. So, before moving on, let's just do a quick review. Let me just see if I've got any questions here that I haven't answered because I'm trying to juggle 3 screens. Yeah, okay. So let's just do a quick review. So core concept 1, put it up here. Oopsie, let me get back there. Core concept 1, we identified the things that you've been doing to overcome your trauma-related body aches, anxiety, and overwhelm that have not worked in the long run. The real reason why they haven't helped is because they haven't addressed the root cause, right? They haven't addressed the root cause, which is the neurophysical symptoms of trauma, also known as the fight-flight response. You've learned that when someone experiences trauma, then they're often guarded and afraid that it might happen again. So the brain and the nervous system become hypersensitive and stress hormones flood the body for protection. Now, over time, this causes damages to both the physical and mental health. So addressing the neurophysical symptoms of trauma first lays that groundwork for effective healing. Why? Again, the body needs to feel safe in order for you to access cognitive functions that are responsible for problem solving and reasoning, right? Body has got to feel safe before it can heal. So core concept 2, we've identified the perceived and the believed misconceptions that you have been telling yourself that are stopping you from getting results, and we've looked at the truth behind them. You now understand that they've been keeping you stuck. It's not your fault, right? But it's those misconceptions that hold us back. In core concept 3, the discovery that I made that changed everything for me, it's super powerful because I walked you through the exact method, those 5 elements that I used on myself and used with all of my clients to get them to overcome their trauma-related body aches, their anxiety, their overwhelm, without having to tell their story over and over again, and without having to waste more of their life trying to figure it all out. So why you showed up today? You're a trauma survivor, right? You want to overcome that anxiety and overwhelm. You want to be pain-free. You want to be more focused and motivated. You want to be able to get through the day and still have the energy and time for yourself and your family. And you want your life back. You want to live the life that you were meant to live rather than just exist in the life that you've had to live. Okay, so at the beginning of this training, I made you a promise, and I promised to show you how to stop spending all of your time finding temporary solutions to manage your body aches. I promised to show you how to stop listening to the faulty beliefs that are holding you back. And I promised to tell you how to work with an expert to address the 5 elements that are necessary to overcome your persistent body aches, your anxiety, and your overwhelm once and for all. Now, there's the thing I want you to remember. Everything I've shared with you today isn't some random theory or some idea that I think might work for you. Everything I've walked you through today works. It worked for me, and it's worked for my clients who've all started from similar spots to where you are right now. Now, I'm not special. They're not special. We all had really busy lives. We're all overwhelmed and exhausted. And the thought of adding more to our plate felt like asking for the impossible, but we did it. And if we can do it, I know that you can do it too. You already know that you can overcome your trauma-related body aches, anxiety, and overwhelm. And you know that you can live your best life as long as you have accountability and a plan to follow. So you're really halfway there. We have to talk about it, right? We have to. Too many women are stuck in negative beliefs. They're stuck in what if I fail? What if I don't heal? What if I'm broken beyond repair? I don't deserve to be happy. I'm not strong enough. How long have you been wanting to heal? Tell me in the chat, how long have you been trying to heal? Oh, imposter syndrome. So true. Body fatigue from the ME. And so how long have you been trying to heal? Most of my adult life. Too long, eh? Yes. 30 years and still working on me. Yeah. 25, 46 years, another 25 years. Yeah. Long time. How many treatments have you paid for in an attempt to heal? How many self-help books, YouTube videos, or online research have you done with the belief that more knowledge would heal you? Too many? Yeah, lost count. Yep. And you're still here, right? So many. Yeah. And that's what we do. We try to, we try to read our way, or we try to understand it, but it's got to be an experiential. Noreen always intellectualizing. Yeah, it's because it's safer in our heads, right? But the body's not safe. Felt stuck at the age of 17 when I was attacked. Yeah. Gosh, sorry, Stephanie. Yeah. Have to feel it to heal it, but never felt safe. No. But I'm here to tell you, right, that all these treatments that you pay for, self-help books, YouTube videos, online research, they're not how it works, right? You are a survivor. You've already overcome so much. Now we need to close the gap between your ability to change your life, which we know you can do. We know you can change your life. So we need to close the gap between your ability to change your life and taking that first step. And that first step is to book a call with me, right? And I'm going to tell you more about that in a short while. That's the gap, right? You have the ability. We have the know-how. We just need to close the gap so that you can be in control of your life from this day forward. Excuse me. Type yes in the comments if you'd like me to help you overcome your trauma-related body aches, anxiety, and overwhelm, so that you can find new meaning in your life, reclaim your energy, and start living again. Yes, absolutely. Okay. I think I've skipped over a couple of slides. There we go. Okay. So you have a choice, right? You can continue to do what you're doing by treating the symptoms and not the root cause. You can either stay the same, tell yourself, you know what? I'm going to continue to think about this. I'm going to continue to consume and educate myself and hope that one day when I feel ready enough, magic will happen. Let's just hope. Or you can say, no, I'd really like a plan and I would like to move forward. So if you're choice number 2, go ahead and type choice 2 in the chat. If you're with me and you say, okay, I'm ready to do this, I would love to have you sign up for my free mentorship call. So type yes in the chat if you're ready to do choice 2. Yes. And the reason that I offer this free mentorship call is because I know that you've been thinking about this for a long time. It's time for you to take back control. And I know that you don't know how to do that. And so for those of you who say, I'm ready to choose the simpler path and use the Life Beyond Trauma method that comes with the proven system and accountability so that I can get back to living my life, go ahead and book the call. So I'm going to put that link in the chat here in a second. But what I want you to do is to go ahead and book a call so that I can actually support you and answer your questions. Let me come back here. Okay. I'm going to just look for my, I'll put that in the link here in a few minutes, and that way you can get it. Okay, awesome. So I'm super honored to be sharing this opportunity with you, because the best way that I can help you is by personally supporting each and every one of you. We know that trauma and our neuro, it affects everybody different. And so it's a very personal journey, right? And so we can't just assembly line and just have the same treatment for everybody, right? So we need to have that one-on-one call. So what I've done is I've set aside some time over the next 7 days to speak with you personally about how I can support you to apply what we've talked about today so that you can finally overcome your trauma-related body aches, your anxiety, and your overwhelm, and start living and enjoying your life again. I'll do that with a call which lasts about 45 minutes, and it's called the Trauma Recovery Mentorship Call. Now, the best part is that during the Trauma Recovery Mentorship Call, you will gain so much confidence because you'll be able to see how the system works so well that you'll be like, how is this call free? How shouldn't you be charging for this? Yes, this call is absolutely free of charge, right? So while I'm certainly not the only one in the field of trauma psychotherapy, there's lots of other people doing trauma work, which is great. I specialize in working with women over 40 who struggle with trauma-related body aches, anxiety, and overwhelm, so that they can find new meaning in their life, reclaim their energy without having to retell or relive their trauma experiences over and over again. And I do this because of my own experience and years of training and working with clients. I've transformed my own life and the lives of so many clients. So here's what we need to do next. So use that link to schedule the trauma recovery mentorship call. And I'm just going to have to, if you just bear with me one moment here, I think it's just down here. Just bear with me 1 second. I need to jump down here. There it is. I'm going to copy this if I can. There it is. And I'm going to paste this into the link. There you go. So you can just click on that. And is that right? Sorry, just bear with me. Just bear with me a second. Here's your group chat. Okay, do you see that there? Okay. So, let me have a look here. Let me go back to my Okay, so I know you've got questions. But before you invest in anything, you have to have a plan. You should know that you're doing before you make any investment whatsoever. So I want to just start here by just jumping back. Sorry, just bear with me one moment. There we go. I want to tell you that the call is not, the Life Beyond Trauma method is not for everybody, right? So it's not for somebody who is not willing to take personal responsibility for success. This call is also not for you if you're not willing to be patient with yourself. It's also not for you if you are not open to a new way of doing things or not willing to step out of your comfort zone. It's not for you if you're not committed to working hard. I don't want to sugarcoat it, right? We are doing life-changing work here. It's not going to be a walk in the park at all, right? We have to put in the work. But the call is for you if you're ready to stop doing all of the things that don't work, or stop doing the things that you think you should do and focus on the proven system that does work. The call is for you if you're ready to take purposeful action and make lasting changes in your life. It is for you if you're ready to commit to following a step-by-step system, even when life gets rocky. Don't worry though, you'll get so much support, it will be next to impossible to fall off the horse, right? And it is for you if you value your health enough to prioritize yourself 12 weeks. It's a 12-week course. You're coachable. If you're coachable and if you ask for support and accountability along the way, we have to put in the work. So schedule your call. Let me see where I am here. Okay, we have a few people sign up already. Lovely. Deborah, thank you. Signed up. I'm excited. All right, it's great. So, let's see. Okay. So, all right. So I want to cover a couple. Thank you, Stephanie. You've just booked your call, Stephanie. Congratulations. So, on the call, I'm going to help you get clarity around where you're at, what your challenges are, and I'm going to offer you a direction to move forward, right? So I'm not, we're just having a conversation, right? It's a free phone call. You have absolutely nothing to lose. Awesome. Thank you. Now, I know you have questions, right? And here's an opportunity to access some mentorship so that you can get a little bit more clarity. So if you've got questions, book a call. Just book a call. Now, I know some of you don't have funds to pay for treatment and you don't have funds to spend on yourself. That doesn't disqualify you. You're not lesser of a person because if you don't have access to funds at the moment. I need all of you to start taking up space. I need you to say, oh, I want this. Okay, how do I get it? I need you to show up to the call and say, here's what I want. How do I achieve it? Well done, Karen. And we'll give you the resources to get you started. We'll do that. The priority of this call is to give you a plan. There's also going to be some of you that say, right, I want to work with you. What do you offer? How can you help me? Give me the easy button and all the steps so that I can just stop wasting any more of my life on the things that are not working. Like, let's go, right? And if that's you, then cool. We'll just tell you on the call. But if the priority of the priority of this call is to just give you a plan. So on the trauma recovery mentorship call, here's what we're going to do, right? We're going to get clear on your specific goal and why you want it. You have a goal, so you don't know how to get to your goal. So we're going to ask you what your current situation is. We're going to look at any obstacles or challenges that would derail your success. And we're going to look at how to handle social situations of pressure, any self-sabotaging things that are happening, anything. We're going to cover all of that. So this way, by the time the call's over, you'll leave with helpful strategies that will propel your healing. Does that sound good? Type yes in the comments if that will help you. Yes, Stephanie, can't wait. Rachel, brilliant. Noreen, lovely. Okay. Okay, brilliant, Stephanie. Just going through my slides here. Okay, so I know that there's many of you listening that want more personalized support and accountability. And if you're someone who knows that in order for you to succeed, you're going to need that, then great. We're going to discuss the next steps on the call to determine if we're right fit for each other. And if not, that's okay. You will leave it. So even if you're not sure what your next steps are, book a call, right? You will leave the call with so much value, so much clarity, so much confidence. And of course, we're part as friends, right? This is where you get to say to yourself, I don't feel ready and I'm going to do it anyway. This is where you say, I'm going to take up some space. I don't feel ready. I'm not certain I'm going to follow through with anything. I'm not certain if I'm going to follow through, right? And that's okay. But if you showed up today because you want to overcome your trauma-related body aches, your anxiety, and your overwhelm, it would be in your best interest to just book the call, wouldn't it? Right. So remember, there's one catch. Noreen, great. There's one catch. And if you're looking for a quick fix or a magic pill, so to speak, as the way to heal from your trauma-related body aches, your anxiety, and your overwhelm, it's not for you. This call is not for you. It is not a quick fix, right? It's hard work, right? It's taking personal responsibilities. It's putting in those steps. It's literally just pedal to the metal and getting this done, right? Okay. All right. Well done. If you're already going down the road of health issue, it needs surgery as a result. Yeah, exactly. This is the thing. It's like we spend so much time in different treatments, just trying to work with the symptoms and not getting to that root cause, right? Okay. So if you're somebody who wants to support and accountability so that you can sidestep all of those obstacles that have been holding you back, schedule the trauma recovery mentorship call right now. Spots are limited, right? I don't have a call center doing this. You and I are going to jump on the phone together so I can absolutely do my best to support you, okay? So if you've tried therapy, massage, acupuncture, any other remedies, it hasn't worked, or even if you don't have the time or energy, this works, right? It works because it's based on over 25 years of study and working with clients. It works because it is trauma-informed. It's a compassionate approach, and it heals both the mind and the body. It works because it addresses all areas of your life. And it works because it includes the support and accountability that traditional methods don't. There are nuances that only an expert can help you with, but there are many other factors involved that traditional programs don't cover. Trauma affects everybody differently. And we all cope with those experiences differently. We're triggered differently, and it affects our lives differently. We don't exist in a vacuum. So head over to the online calendar to secure your trauma recovery mentorship call right now. Very big difference between trying to figure this out on your own, working with an expert who has a track record of success. Okay, so let's see. I do have a couple of questions that that come up a lot. So I just want to kind of, if there's a lot more questions, then please just ask, feel free to book a call and we'll talk about them on the call. But I've got some questions that I get often, so I want to answer those here. All right. So the first question, I'm super busy and I don't have any free time. Should I still book a call? Right? I'd love to challenge you on that. The call is shorter than this webinar. And if you came here and were able to stay until the end, my guess is you can carve out another hour to focus on your needs specifically. I get how busy life can get, and it's so important, though, to dedicate your time to your health. This is why I offer the one-on-one trauma recovery mentorship call, so that you can get clarity. As a unique human being, in order to overcome your trauma-related body aches, anxiety, and overwhelm, you need that clarity. Question 2, I have a lot of financial restrictions, and I don't know if I can afford it, or how much is it? Now, the trauma recovery mentorship call is 100% free of charge, and it's my job and goal to offer you value first and make sure that we're the right fit to work together. I want to make sure that you'll benefit from working with us together so that you're not wasting money on things that don't work for you. If we're not a good fit, I'll be sure to refer you somewhere else. Let's just talk, book that call, right? Question 3, I often get this one, is that I'm working with a therapist already. Won't this be duplicating services? And I love that you're working with a therapist if you are, right? This will complement any additional value to your, it'll complement and add additional value to your healing journey. So it's not designed to replace any individual therapy that you're already getting. Although I do want you to know that individual therapy is not a requirement of this course. But you're here today, so something's still missing from your healing journey, right? Question 4. I still need to talk to my spouse or my partner. Should I still book a call? Yeah. Now, it is a family decision, right? And I love that you make decisions together. Just like your symptoms affect your whole family, not just yourself, this method will have a positive impact on your whole family too. So discussion is good to have at some point. But ultimately, this call is about you. So I want to make sure that you offer that time to yourself. And at the end of the call, if we are a good fit to work together, I'll offer you an opportunity to bring your spouse onto the call, your partner onto the call, so that you can both fully understand what it would entail to work together. Question 5. I've been diagnosed with a mental health condition that makes it really hard for me not to feel overwhelmed. Is this for me? Absolutely. Absolutely. Mental illness and trauma goes hand in hand. I know trauma does increase the risk of developing conditions like PTSD, depression, and anxiety. And interestingly, there's a lot of talk right now in the trauma field about how trauma coping mechanisms can actually be diagnosed for certain mental illnesses. So I know there's a lot of talk right now about people with ADHD being misdiagnosed with ADHD, but it's actual trauma, right? So a lot of symptoms overlap. So attention, focus, impulse control, these are all symptoms that can mimic ADHD. Not always, but it can, right? So if you've got any questions that I haven't already answered on this webinar today, I want you to get the answers to your questions. So please book that call. So there's no words that I can say that's going to take away any feelings of fear for you. Not going to take any apprehension away from you. All I know is that booking the call will be worth your time. You have to decide that you're the kind of person that can feel uncertain and still take action. Now, I promise you, I've been doing this for a long, long time. And being able to move with uncertainty is the only way to be able to make big, bold moves while feeling uncertain, right? So have the belief in yourself that getting a level of understanding is going to benefit you. Going through the motions of booking a call, talking about your struggles and barriers for the first time, maybe for the first time, is it's going to serve you, right? It's going to serve you well. So, okay, we did it, everyone. That's it. Thank you so much for coming today. And as I said before, my mission and purpose on this planet is to save you the hassle from having to experience that I did and to give you a simpler, proven way to overcome the trauma-related anxiety and overwhelm. Be pain-free, more focused, and find new meaning in your life and reclaim your energy. So if you've booked a call, I can't wait to talk to you. The call is about me being of service to you. And if we both agree that you're the right fit, then we can discuss what it looks like. Either way, you'll get much out of our time together. I'm really looking forward to talking with you. Amazing. Thanks again, and we will talk soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye now.